Great, thank you. My name's Andrew, and I've been very excited to have shared part of David's journey here of collaboration in the digital world. I've known David for about 7 years. We first met each other. We started talking about virtual collaboration, and we were teaching in a master's program, and we told these students virtual collaboration is something people do now. It's common and it's used all over the place, but we didn't know what we were talking about. And when COVID hit, everything changed, and we learned how true those words were, even though we didn't know it. Before I'd like to move further in today, I'd just like to do an acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge the Muwinina people who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm sitting at in Tasmania in Australia. But also I'd like to acknowledge the important role these custodians play in maintaining country and culture. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. And as a virtual meeting, also extend that out to the traditional custodians of any people in the lands of which you're all at. So our book launch today is a digital event. We're going to have time for Q&A at the end. So please, if you have any questions, please use the chat throughout the evening, and we'll collect them up and use them to ask David questions about digital collaboration and his book launch. We'll also have a few guest speakers today, talking about how David has impacted their journey and their business, and how this book can be a great tool for you to do the same. And first, though, we're going to do a Mentimeter. So perhaps you've done these before. If you have, use your phone to scan the QR code or to follow the instructions on the screen. There'll also be a link in the chat. Our question today is, what are the challenges you have found collaborating in a digital world? So this is a short survey. Use keywords to describe challenges that you've found, and you'll have a few moments through the next couple of presentations to finish answering those questions before we come back to them. So without any further ado, I'd like to pass across to Carmen to present to us about how David has helped her in her business. I was really fortunate to work with Carmen and David on the project that she's going to talk about, and it's great to hear her words.
Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome to the book launch of David Jenkins' new book, Collaboration in a Digital World. On behalf of the team launching the book, TriHelix, and in particular David Jenkins, the author, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you today. I'll start with a brief moment on my background. I'm a mining engineer and mineral economist, and I've worked for 4 decades in the mining industry. I have an international work footprint in open pit and underground operations, and I've worked across operating and technical roles in multiple commodities. If I cut right through all of this, and possibly most importantly, I'm a leader of high-functioning and high-performing teams of extraordinary professionals that delivered breakthrough or stretch outcomes for the assets that we served. I'd like to talk just a little now about the general modus operandi. A common feature of all of these teams was to show up on site, in person, and to work with the teams that were operating our assets with purpose and inspiration, and working with them to develop high value and long-term strategic intent. Over the last 20 years, I've worked with David Jenkins and the TriHelix team, pulling together really significant work programs. This helped us to find clarity, focus and alignment on corporate or asset strategies, and was a really fantastic connecting experience for all stakeholders. I'd like to jump now to David's background. David started his career as a fitter and turner. He then moved on to become a mechanical engineer, moved on again to become a project manager, moved on again now to become a leader and subject matter expert who helps whole organisations to shape their future. Really an amazing career. And an amazing man who has the charisma and the mojo of multiple reinventions and the authenticity to bring dimensional and multidiscipline success to the teams and organisations that he touches. I'd like to take another leap now, all the way to November 2019, when coronavirus first descended upon us all, to change our lives and our workplaces forever. How it impacted us? Travel ceased. Evacuations from all over the world back to our point of hire, straight into isolation and zero contact with our workplaces. Within 3 months, we realised that this is not a short-term impact. And we also realised that we are in for 2 to 5 years of interrupted work programs and work processes. As I faced down this challenge, as a leader of a large team of really technical experts, I developed a burning need to reimagine the way that we worked. Our work was important, and we still needed to do this work now more than ever, and now better than ever. I called David and the TriHelix team to help, and I believe that David and the TriHelix team have done some of the most important work of their careers in helping us to reshape the way that we work. This book is born out of the work that we started, but it has been extended by more than 60 interviews and more than 1,800 participants. All of those have been real-world conversations and real-world applications. David and the TriHelix team are working with most of the major miners. They're working with a large number of industries and other businesses to deliver this important work, skill set and capability. The book is a collation of stories, processes, toolkits and techniques for delivering work that connects, integrates and it does this across teams and stakeholders. The most important thing that you'll do as either a team leader or a team member is to influence and engage, to communicate options and opportunities, and to drive great outcomes for your business. I truly believe collaboration and connection lie at the core of this. It's the upfront injection for all of the truly successful teams that I've led or that I've witnessed. So read this book. Familiarise yourself with the materials and toolkits. Trust the processes with your teams and your stakeholders, and don't miss the chance to be truly magnificent. Let me move us forward now in our launch. We now have a very short video to show you that provides an introduction and an overview for the book. After this, we'll be in the very capable hands of our author, David Jenkins.
Imagine collaborating with the best and most diverse people, keeping a work-life balance with increased autonomy and flexibility. Imagine making a difference through faster turnaround, effective work sessions, and asynchronous work in real time across different time zones. Imagine building a sense of community with shared goals and a larger purpose where people know how to contribute. Imagine building lasting and personal connections built on trust and respect. Imagine being able to confront unknowns and embrace the digital world with confidence and energy. The TriHelix story is that with the onset of COVID, traditional approaches to collaboration stopped overnight. It was no longer possible to meet face-to-face as people stayed home and dialed in remotely. After a month, it became obvious the world was changing and we needed to rethink how we work and pivot collaboration to a virtual world. We quickly signed up to digital whiteboard platforms and Zoom and started to collaborate. Naturally, it was not pretty at the start, and like many of you, we made mistakes. However, with time and lots of practice, we developed a skill set to collaborate virtually. The technology allowed us to go from the ugly to being organised and coordinated in our approach, as we solved problems on the run to morph the virtual world into an interactive and incredibly productive space. As we now reflect on the past 2 years, we believe most collaboration can be done virtually, while reserving face-to-face for the critical work of facilitating emotions and connections. In fact, the new model is a campaign mixing virtual, face-to-face and hybrid sessions. As part of our journey, we wanted to better understand the power and context of collaboration. We interviewed more than 60 people to look for common understandings around the threats and rewards of collaborating in a fast-changing world. The results of our investigation and our own journey as leaders of change and collaboration over the last 3 years are shared in David's new book, Collaboration in a Digital World. It will guide you step by step to apply outstanding collaboration in a digital world, including more than 250 ready-to-use tools and supporting method cards. Go to our website to see how you can get the book and continue your journey to outstanding collaboration.
Great. Well, thank you, Carmen, and thank you. And isn't it exciting to hear about David's video? Now, David, here's some of the comments that came back from the Mentimeter. Can you talk to us about technology failures, dealing with change, and what the challenges are with the collaborating world? And it'd be great to hear about your book.
Definitely, and thank you everyone for coming today. I look at the big one in the middle, technology failure, and for me that's one of the most scariest thing about collaborating digitally, because people are there and you come together and it fails, and it can be so frustrating. Early on, I used to take that personally, that I felt I hadn't planned correctly, but I realized there are things out of our control. And I've learned to accept that and to laugh at it. And that's one of the big things I'll talk about a bit later, that you need to learn and then fail and then learn and fail again and keep improving. So I just want you to not worry too much about that. Dealing with change was a big one. As you can see by my, I'm not the youngest person in the room, and dealing with this change into the digital world was quite challenging as I had to embrace new things. But I can assure you that if you do that and embrace this different way of thinking, it's actually quite inspiring and gives you a real purpose. One of the other things was confronting unknowns. The digital world, and it's going to keep happening for all of us, and we can either engage those unknowns or we can sit back and let it happen. And I do believe it will happen anyway. So that's something that I want you to think about, is to embrace those unknowns. So what I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about my book. I want to spend some time sharing my personal and business reinvention, and also share why I wrote this book and a recent case study. Now, I sincerely hope you enjoy our short time together. The last 2 years have been extremely challenging and filled with enormous personal growth. COVID had a significant impact on my personal and business journey. Our face-to-face facilitation business model was no longer feasible, leaving me with despair and anxiety. And from this, the wonderful news is I started a new journey culminating in this book. Now, before COVID, we were extremely busy. However, when COVID hit, our revenue dropped 90% overnight. We could no longer facilitate face-to-face. We watched and waited, expecting the world to come back. While Matthew and I were having a socially distanced coffee near our office, a friend walked past and we started talking about the challenges we were facing. And my friend shared they were trialling digital whiteboards during meetings. I did not think much of it. Fortunately, Matthew did. He had this vision and Googled digital whiteboards. He then sat me down and shared what was possible. And at that moment, our digital journey started, as did my personal and business reinvention. Well, we signed up for a digital whiteboard and Zoom and started to play. We were way out of our comfort zone and totally overwhelmed. We had to confront many unknowns and felt lost dealing with this technological change. Very quickly, it became clear we were not alone. All of our colleagues and friends were in the same situation and hoping the aeroplanes would come back. We persisted, made mistakes, and rapidly learned a different way of working. My personal turning point was running a virtual meeting, and it just felt wrong. It was dull, uninspiring, and my anxiety levels went through the roof as I was talking to the screen. Then my team said, "You tried to run a face-to-face meeting virtually." And then it clicked. I realized I was holding back. I had to fully embrace the digital world. I also realized I had to foster a digital mind, an inquiring and beginner's mind, a mind driven by a passion and a willingness to learn and fail and learn and fail. Around the same time, Carmen reached out to collaborate and help her team to develop a digital mind. Together, we set about learning, failing, and improving, allowing us to rapidly pivot our collaboration into a digital world. Within 2 months, we were collaborating digitally and getting better and better. Now, over the past 2 years, we've collaborated with over 1,800 people from 21 countries working on 40 different and diverse projects. Now, pivoting to the digital world has been an amazing journey. It provided me personally an opportunity to change my game and reinvent my purpose. Initially, my progress went backwards as I experimented and learnt new things. This time was confronting as I worked at the edge and made mistakes. I received knockbacks as people could not visualize effective digital collaboration. People were hesitant to try. Almost everyone was waiting for the airplanes to come back. However, with support from Carmen and other inspiring thinkers, I was able to turn the corner and begin a new journey. My confidence and resilience increased, and so did my belief. I was seeing the future of collaboration. And with practice, my progress accelerated, and I took on more projects with more confidence. I learned what did and did not work and continued to improve. As demand for digital collaboration increased, so did the complexity of my work. For example, my first project was a pro bono strategy workshop for a charity where we trialed the digital whiteboard. Fast forward, a recent collaboration involved 90 people from around the world on a digital whiteboard at the same time. It worked. Today, I'm excited and powering along, even though the airplanes have come back. The growth area in the future, collaboration, is now hybrid, where it's a combination of face-to-face and virtual. I've learned I need a purpose and to be inspired and reinventing myself. And I've also realized for my mental health's sake, I'm already looking for that next growth opportunity. In summing up, the last 2 years have been extremely challenging and filled with enormous personal growth. I met so many wonderful people, people with diverse perspectives, people who filled me with hope in our common desire to collaborate. Now, I wrote this book because I wanted to share my experience of finding my new purpose and how this can be fulfilling and bring happiness. I started interviewing people from 17 industry sectors, and with each interview, the story became richer as people shared why they collaborate. In reality, this book is one big collaboration with 60 people and 1,800 people from across the world. I'm deeply grateful for their time and willingness to share their journey. And I sincerely hope this book will help you think differently and give you the confidence to embrace the digital world. Now, I would like to introduce Jean-Philippe from Canada. He will share his thoughts and insights on a recent and amazing collaboration campaign. As with all digital collaboration, we learned so much and we continue to learn. We exceeded our expectations and believe we created a blueprint for future hybrid collaboration. Over to you, JP.
Following the pandemic, a new set of collaboration tools have emerged, and our expectation towards live, in-person events have changed. We now realize that reuniting a team from all around the world should be treated as a privilege, and that we must extract maximum value from it for it to be sustainable to the environment and to our businesses. To achieve that, our team have moved toward a collaboration campaign that started months before the live event and continued months after. During this campaign, team members got to know each other, presented their site, shared their realities and the challenges they face every day. And they did all that virtually. When they met in person, it was just like old friends getting together after a long time. We all hit the ground running. We also realized that even more preparation could have been done before the live event, and this is something we will implement in the future. Now that we have collaborated using this hybrid approach, No one wants to go back to the old methods. I'm Jean-Philippe Hudon, Asset Management Lead.
Thanks, JP.
Thanks, JP, and thanks, David, for bringing us this book. Congratulations. It's obviously really exciting. We've got some questions to ask you. So for everyone else, it's time for a Q&A for David. So feel free to type your questions into the chat. But David, first, what does a collaboration campaign look like compared to a virtual meeting?
So a collaboration campaign, it involves a series of virtual sessions leading up to a face-to-face. Traditionally, when we do face-to-face, often we bring people together, and if it's for one day, it's because they've traveled. If people travel internationally, you'll often find we'll say, let's do 2 days because we want to make the most of all of that time and traveling. So what we've learned is we want to focus all of our time in the room on building hearts and minds, emotions and connections. But we can preload that with lots of useful sharing of information so people get to understand each other. And an example of JP's story was what amazed me most was after these 7 one-hour sessions, we all turned up to the workshop and felt extremely connected. So don't believe that you cannot connect virtually. You can. You just need to plan for it and ensure it happens.
Okay, thanks. And how do you see people using the book?
Oh, okay. So the book is here and I'm showing with you right now. So the book, I deliberately put it into a spiral bind because I would like you to use it like this. The book itself is not meant to be read once. It's a book that you can use as a reference over and over again. So I deliberately wanted the pages to be flat so it can be beside you as you work through it. We've also added in the book a whole series of these QR codes. Now, behind these QR codes are the method cards that we've developed over many years. And for what you see here is actually the physical method cards. They're small cards that have a particular tool and how to use that tool. Before COVID, these were all hard copy, as you could see, and I would lay them out on the table as we design something. Today, you lay these cards out onto a digital whiteboard, have the same conversations as well.
Thanks, David. A question here, in a face-to-face forum, people can get up and move around and be engaged. How do you try to replicate that in a digital forum?
So great question. So what we've learned going digital, it's all short time slots. So if you were going to run a digital session, first thing, always aim for a 2-hour session max with a very clear break in the middle. You need to allow people to get up and to be able to stretch. It's critical you always do that. There's a tendency that people to let things roll, and by letting people roll, they get disconnected. So the key tool is to have short breaks continuously during your session.
Great. Thanks, David. So how do we get the book?
The book, the easiest way to get the book is to go onto our website at tryhelix.com.au, and there's a resources page, and you'll be able to go onto that, follow through that, and then just download the book. The book at the moment, because it's been launched, there's a 10% promo offer. So when you go in to purchase the book, if you type in launch lowercase, you will actually be able to download the book, and you will also be able to download the 250 method cards, and there's also some posters in there on collaboration around threats and rewards and obstacles to collaboration, which you can use with your teams to help them build confidence in the digital world.
Great. Thanks, David. Another question. How did you start to feel comfortable about digital collaboration?
Lots of chocolate. when I first started, and Andrew, you were with us on our journey, it was very difficult. I had to really push myself out of my comfort zone, and I had to practice. I just had to practice. I had to confront that unknown, give it a go, feel uncomfortable, then confront a new unknown. And a simple example, our first digital involved 7 people, and then we are quite comfortable with bringing 90 people onto a digital whiteboard for a 2-hour session, which really, really gives you a sense of, with practice, your confidence will improve significantly.
Great. Thank you, David. There's a few more questions, but we might need to ask the most important question: what is next?
Oh, I've just got a wonderful question that came through. Video on or video off? Look, that's a classic one. I personally feel if you're in a small group of 5 or 6 people, the video should be on. Because it's imagining you're in a small room. If you're in a large group of 20 people, you really can't see people's faces. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But I have a very good story to share with you about what the video means. As part of the interviews, we interviewed Year 7 students, and one of the Year 7 students, who was in the middle of COVID, working remotely with their teacher, said to the teacher, "Miss, it's really interesting. If somebody doesn't turn their video on, it's like they walked into the classroom, went to the back of the room and turned their chair around and faced the back of the class." So I want to leave that with you. I would prefer you default to leave it on and then maybe not turn it off, but do not default to turn it off because you disconnect from the room.
Right. Thank you, David. And now, would you like to tell us what is next? You've launched the book now. What's next?
Well, I mentioned earlier, I'm already working on my next growth opportunity. So what we're going to do is create a series of webinars. And on a monthly basis, we're going to have a webinar. And what I wanted, my first topic will be about how to use these method cards. How can we use those to improve our collaboration campaigns? But I'd also like it to be a forum for open questions as well. So I will send out a link to register for that, and I will continue to do that on a monthly basis.
Great. Thank you, David. Congratulations on the book launch and the success of that. Thank you to everyone here. Thank you, David, for sharing your passion about collaboration and helping us all learn from your experience and helping us. Do remember, to get the book, go to the website, tryhelix.com.au, and you can use the discount code LAUNCH, all in lowercase, for the next 30 days. I think to mirror what Carmen told us, to be magnificent. So let's take a risk and be magnificent in digital collaboration. And thank you very much, and have a wonderful morning or afternoon or evening.